Look at this, to lift up. The whole thing is gold. Slice this. Oh my lord. I'll double check. Give away one of these movable Vortech nozzle. Oh, you know it's gonna be a good time when I have this headlamp on. I am doing my laundry at night. The neighbor hates me, my apologies, but look at this. The Colorado Sunburst Anemone has done really well in this tank. It has been moving. It has just been rotating around the arch, and I'm gonna talk fast because I wanna catch this moment. Look at the foot right there. It seems like it's on the move. It's moving, and when it's moving like this with a one side of the foot curled up like this, it's a lot easier to get off the rock. I've been thinking about using a container box or something to hold the anemone, simply because I feel like when they start walking, it's disturbing all the corals, put everything at risk. And if something goes, especially with this kind of density, it's gonna just throw the whole tank into, and the anemone is trying to anchor down already. Alright, I'm gonna stop talking. Basically what I'm trying to do is just gonna lift an anemone foot off because like one side of the foot is already peeled up. And usually with something like this, my go-to weapon is a spoon. Plastic spoon, nice, relatively soft, not super sharp edge like a metal. I like to use it, just kind of ply it on. And it has served me really well. Let's see if it works. And yep, just as expected, because the anemone is kind of on the move. There's one side of the foot already, it's kind of up. I can really easily just go in and just convince the rest of the foot, look at this, to lift up. Now usually what's even better is to use a nail, right? Really softly, just try to massage a foot, convince it to let go. And you want to do this super gently, especially if you're dealing with something that's not a bubble tip anemone, because a bubble tip, they're much hardier, and even if their foot rip, chances are they're just going to heal anyways. Because if you want to split a bubble tip anemone, a lot of people just kind of slice it in half, right? So they can heal. But that's not the same for all anemones. Some of the anemones, they do not split that way. So if you cut the anemone in half, they just die. And if you rip certain anemone's foot, it's a death sentence. So look at that. We're almost done. Yeah, I've removed a lot of rose bubble tip anemone. This one is Colorado Sunburst anemone, which it's basically just a morph of the bubble tip anemone, similar to the rose. And there it is. Look at that. Look at how large it has grown. This came from Thirsty's Reef, I think about, what was it, a year and a half ago? Uh-oh. Look at that. Well, I will really miss having this guy on the rock. No, I won't, because it gives me heartburn every time I start to walk. And I've been walking a lot recently. Man, look at the size of this guy. It has really grown. Here, let me put some blue lights on it. Look at this. Right now, it's kind of in the red phase. When it first arrived in my tank from Thirsty's Reef, the whole thing is gold. So from my understanding, the Colorado Sunburst anemone has different phase, like red and gold. I personally really much prefer the gold phase, but I have not been able to get it to get back to the gold coloration. I suspect it may have something to do with the lights. The par reading of my 145 tank is not that high. At the highest point, it's like 300 par. I know people blast them. All right, we're actually back up here. I really cannot find a good spot to even have like a container in the 135. It's just too packed. So I think we're gonna reintroduce it back to the Mangrove tank. It actually came from this tank a while back. As you can see, the finger leather has taken up pretty much the entire tank, but we do have that corner right there. We'll see if the anemone can find a spot that it likes. I suspect that it may be okay simply because I have the flow redirecting to that corner. We'll have to talk about this really soon. So I think it may like that spot, especially since we have some crevices back there as well. As you know, the bubble tip anemone likes to anchor its foot underneath overhang and kind of reach out under and up. So hopefully it'll find a spot there. We'll see. If not, we can always go for plan B or plan C, back to the 135 with a floating basket, which I do not have at the moment. Oh, look at this, already attached to the bottom of the bucket. And we're gonna help it a little bit. I like to just find like a nice crevice, jam the foot in there, so that it will be able to reach in and grab something, and then it's going to move to wherever it wants to. Bubble Tip Anemone, as you know, just do whatever the heck they want, go wherever the heck they go to. I absolutely love them because they're really hardy, really beautiful, but at the same time, they can really wreak havoc, especially on a heavily planted or heavily stocked reef tank. Yeah, before I walk away, I want to 100% make sure that it is stuck to something and it's not just free floating. So because even though my MP10 has an anemone guard, it's still not going to be good if it gets sucked against the power head.
The next morning.
All right, while she's distracted, here is how the Colorado Sunburst anemone looks in the very overgrown mangrove tank. The mangrove has really grown as well. I haven't talked about this tank much at all. You notice that I actually changed out the light to experiment a little bit since I was overhauling it. This is actually running straight AB plus with the cool white up to, I believe, 30%. It was at 24% before. And the reason I made that change is really the jawbreaker mushroom. I want to start growing some jawbreaker mushroom up here simply because I have so many downstairs. But they look totally boring under the normal white lights. So I figure, all right, you know what? Since I'm kind of mixing things up a little bit in the mangrove tank, I've had a lot of opportunity to observe it under more white lights. Let's turn it blue a little bit to kind of show off some of the coral coloration, because in soft corals, there's still a lot of beautiful, beautiful soft coral that absolutely glows under the more blue spectrum lighting. We're talking about color rendition, by the way, not like morphing coral color. And it just so happened that the Colorado Sunburst anemone, it's a nice benefactor to the more bluer spectrum. It absolutely glows under the blue lights. My outer hope is that under the different lighting up here, it's gonna turn into its gold phase, versus right now I believe it's more in the red phase where it's more red and orange than gold. But if you're under certain type of lighting, the right kind of lighting, which I don't know what it is, it supposedly turns completely solid gold. Yeah, looking at this, I really need to frag up this finger ladder. I've been avoiding it, but now it just looks really unsightly once pressed up against the glass. With the 135 downstairs, it's just gonna be a mixed reef. It's gonna be a good spread of soft coral, OPS, and SPS. I just love all the different type of corals too much to make it just one type. I can't even slice this in half because it's just gonna look really awkward. I do have these frags growing out in the back, so I think I'm just gonna remove this whole chunk, slice this in pieces, have one part of it grow in a 135, and then slice up the other ones more to distribute them locally. At least that's the plan. We'll see how it goes. Interesting. Looks like this toadstool, with the other toadstool gone and the finger ladder moving over here, is starting to take over the space. Interesting. They grow viciously, right? Oi, 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 are you okay? Are you playing my par meter? What are you doing? Ladies and gentlemen, today's gonna be a big one. Today we're going to reset the mangrove tank. I am not going to completely tear it apart. However, this guy is coming out. This finger ladder, it just completely dominated the entire tank to the point where it's rubbing up against the front of the glass. Aesthetically, it looks terrible. And health-wise, I'm sure it's not good for the coral. So what I'm gonna do is gonna try to lift the whole colony out, leaving some of the stuff on the mangrove roots as well as the back wall as backdrops, which that was the intention initially. And I'm gonna move the whole chunk downstairs to 135 for holding. And once I get it into 135, when it has kind of acclimated a little bit, I will frag it a little bit further. The original intention for this tank is to really feature the mangrove roots. And as you can see here, we actually got some nice prop roots sprouting. So I think it actually has more of a feature now, and I wonder if we could actually start featuring the mangrove roots versus having some corals in the front to block it. So if the roots looks okay and interesting enough, I may just have some corals in the middle. On the side, we have the Colorado Sunburst anemone, so I think that side is already covered, so it's mainly to address the empty spots here. But as always, the way I aquascape is pretty much going, instead of going on the, I was gonna say going with the flow, but it's more like rolling with the punches. So whatever the tank dishes up, I'll just kind of move things around a little bit to try to accentuate, not to, I don't have the creativity per se to really imagine the whole scape. It's more like, okay, these things are here, how can I make them better? So it's more with that concept in mind. I don't know how some people do it. They have a whole image in mind going in, I can't. Hey, My wife was complaining that I'm wearing my underwear. You guys don't mind, right? Well, this is technically a boxer. I think a boxer sounds a little better than underwear, right?
Underwear.
Boxer. Alright, so.
Imagine your parents are watching your videos now.
It's okay, they've seen more.
And your niece.
They've seen more. They have seen more. That's okay. It's like when I go swimming, I also wear just one layer, right? It's the same thing. Look, when you become parents, you have no shame. It's the least of your worry. Alright, anyways. Let's make this quick. Let's make this quick. We have the scissor from my kitchen. Okay, we talked about...
From my kitchen? You mean...
Oh, scissor.
My scissor.
Okay, now that we have a clear look, it's pretty clear the prop root is actually growing through the coral right here. Can you see? It's going through. So I do not want to rip the coral out because I feel like I'm going to put too much pressure here and break the roots, and then the mangrove is going to suffer. So what we're going to do instead is going to ask the coral to suffer, unfortunately. We're going to try to really carefully cut it. I think once I cut it, I have a better idea of what is going on. I think I'm cutting into rock. Oh my god! Something snapped.
I like that.
Shit. Yeah, I felt something give. Prop root seems okay. Yeah, prop root seems okay. That was my biggest worry. Because really short, I think it still has some flex here. So that was not it, but something snapped. Oh man, should I just lift the whole rock out? Yeah, see, like I mentioned, you never quite know what's going to happen. You never quite know what's going to happen. Especially with a reef tank, you just kind of go, oh my lord. You just gotta, I can't even speak, you just gotta roll with it. I told you this is going to be a reset, right? Oh, Christ. Okay, well, the good thing is that, yeah, of course ATO is going to kick in now. The good thing is that, I can't even speak, let me collect my thoughts. The good thing is that I did not break the mangrove, at least I don't think so. But I did have to slice in. Here's where I cut this piece, this little bit right here, which is not necessary. Oh, look here. This is the huge toadstool that Joseph gave. He gave us 2 small pieces. It came out, okay, that was not happy. Here, let me unplug this first, just so that motor does not burn out. What you hear right now?
Burn up, burn up.
This looks like a Monty plate. I just ripped that off. We don't need that. Oh, this is a whole piece of rock. This will actually go really well as is into the big tank. Look, here's where I cut. I kind of regret cutting it now. I didn't think I can just tear the whole thing out one piece, but apparently I could. Here, we'll put this back in. I don't know what she's laughing at. I don't understand
why you keep this thing.
We'll do this right here. I got on my favorite yellow gloves. 145, super packed, but I have been trying to find something to fit in the corner. So I think this soft coral may be the call. Oh my god. This is not going to be happy. Let me take a quick look. That's not going to work. We have to break that rock, unfortunately.
Huh?
We have to break that rock.
No, it looks good.
No, but when it opens up, it's going to double in size. It's going to cover the whole area. It's going to touch all the other corals.
That's fine.
Probably not okay. I'm going to take it back out. Unfortunately. We're going to find what looks like a weak spot, and then we're going to break that rock. One punch man. Not quite what I want. So that is good. This part, just rip it out. There you go. So now we have 2 pieces. This is the main colony. I have a little tissue here if I want to cultivate. There's some rock here. This will come clean out later on. Let's go and jam this in.
Nina! No!
Okay.
Ây da, cái tim một giật cợt à! Ôi, cái tim này lũ tao giật cợt lắm. Một tim một giật cợt à.
Cợt cầm ơi này.
Này một tim này có 手 thôi, tim một giật cợt.
Okay, I think we're good. This should be okay.
Okay, good. 你幫佢洗手，我去洗腳。
While I absolutely love the Aquatics Vortech, one complaint I do have is that I cannot easily aim the flow. In fact, there's no way to aim the flow because it's kind of laid flat against the glass. And that's why I have tried different 3D printed cage options. For example, like the urchins or limpets that basically adjust the flow pattern from a cone shape to more like a widespread shape in order to get the flow to more area of the tank. For the most part, that worked. However, recently a really interesting product surfaced and the company reached out to me to see if I want to try it out and do a review. Seeing that this will resolve one of the major pain point that I have for the Vortex, whether it's the MP10 or MP40s, I really happily accept it. My stipulation to them is that if the product has some serious issue, I'll tell them first and let them decide whether they want me to post a video. Otherwise, it'll be a completely unbiased review where I'll just share all the pros and cons after I used it. And one additional thing that I'm trying to do is that every time I do a review of one product, I want to get one extra that I can give away to a viewer like you who spent the time to take a look at it. This is our way to thank viewers like you to allow us to continue to put out videos like this. Without further ado, quick unboxing. It looks like the parts came in 2 pieces. So this looks like a complete cage replacement. I just unscrewed the stock Vortech pump and just screwed this back in. I'm not too sure what this is. I know that the one I have is the wide flow because that's the one I requested. So maybe this is the standard, almost like stock replacement. The flow is a little bit more cone shaped versus the wide flow that I want here. I'll double check, but for the most part, it looks like no assembly is required. You just kind of unscrew the stock cage and screw this back in. So in terms of flows for this tank, there are 2 sources at this moment. First, we have a tiny little pump in the back. This is called the Insump ATO. It has a tiny little pump at the bottom. It barely contributes any to flow, but it's basically pull water in case I want to run any kind of biomedia in the back chamber. And in the front, this is the main source of flow for this tank, and this is essentially the heart of this entire tank. And it is a Vortech MP10. The appearance may look a little bit different because it is a Neon Aquatics limpet cage. The reason I have it is because in the past I do have an anemone in this tank. I want to make sure it does not suck up any anemone, so I have that. And also, it has this property to adjust the flow. So the flow is no longer just like a cone shape, it's a more wider flow, which I absolutely am a fan of, and I think this tank absolutely needs it. Because if you look at the configuration and placement of the pump is sitting on this side. Is one half of the tank is blasting straight down here, and the back side does not get any direct flow, so it's really relying on whatever flow that get bounces off the glass and corals on here to move the stuff in the back. Not ideal. Ideally, if I have a pump or a wave maker that I could aim, I'll angle it a little bit to shoot towards this corner so that the front and the back also get really dynamic flow, not just the front, and the back is kind of mostly static, if you can see right here.
Many months later.
I thought I took some video of when I installed the cage, but apparently I did not. But it's pretty straightforward. Essentially, I just unscrewed the urchin cage in my case, and this is just the whole thing just screwed back on. Now, I do believe that for the Aquatics have different products out. The one I have is the movable nozzle. On top of that, I also have the cage. So it's like a set, I think it's like $40 some if I remember right. And also they have just the front part as well. That's just the movable nozzle if you don't need the NAM guard cage. So that's a little bit cheaper, I believe, and all the information will be in the video description below. You can see the Caroline algae is already encrusted all over it, and it works as expected. If you move the nozzle head, it actually rotates. You can aim it wherever you want, and it has been holding steady like that. My fear was that it's going to be too loose and it'll start moving around, but as you can see, it's still holding nice, straight, and true. Not straight. I actually aimed it so that it's going to that corner of the tank. And I want to make sure I aim towards the water surface so we get some nice surface agitation for gas exchange. Unfortunately, this is right after the reset that I'm doing this video, so there's not too many corals in here that would sway, that can kind of display the water circulation. So in the 3 months that I've been running and testing this, really there's no complaints at all. It's basically plug and play and then just leave it and forget it. I didn't really tweak with it too much. I just kind of worked the flow to how I wanted, and I've been working ever since. Of course, back then when I had the big finger lead in this tank, the aimable flow was much more crucial because it was so dense. I want to get the flow through the different branches. But now that the tank is completely clear again, it's like an open canvas, I think I'm going to keep this simply because I feel like compared to just a straight flow down this way and then relying on the circulation here, I'd much rather have a flow that I can aim to a corner and a surface and just get a better dynamic of water circulation. While I cannot really give a comment on the cost because to some people $40 is a lot of money, but to others it's not a big deal. So it's really depending on your financial situation. But in terms of the product's claim and how much value it brings, I definitely think this is a thumbs up product for me. Once again, like I mentioned, I love the Vortex. The only downside is that you cannot aim it because it's shooting a straight line. But with this, you can aim however you want, and it's not just like I've seen brackets, right, where it's kind of set. This you can actually fine tune where it goes, and on top of that, you have the option to go normal flow or wide flow. Even though I don't really know how wide the wide flow is. But just the fact that they give you that option, and especially the fact that they allow you to aim the flow, it's a huge win in my book. So this product gets a thumbs up from me. Aquatics has also agreed to give away one of these movable Vortech nozzles. In order to qualify, it's super simple. In the comment below, simply work in the words movable Vortech nozzles, and then in a week or so, I will pick a winner. Once I pick a winner with a random comment picker, I'm gonna pin it to the top, and then I'm gonna ask you to email me. And then Aquatics is gonna ship either MP10, MP40, either a wide flow or regular flow version to you free of charge. Once again, I apologize to the rest of the world. This is only available in the US at the moment. In the future, I'll see if we can get something that will work for the entire world. I absolutely love the Vortex. However, sometimes I wish that I could aim the flow, simply because wherever I could mount the pump does not mean where I want the flow to go. In this particular case, when the tank is packed with corals, I need something that I could aim, so this came at a fantastic time. Huge thanks again to Aquatics for sending me out this unit to test out, as well as an extra unit to give away.